Hello and welcome to the latest Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce Q&A. And I'm delighted today to be joined by the president of our Cannock Chase division, Mr. Martyn Jupp. Martyn, hi, how are you?
Oh, very well, Paul. How are you? Good morning to you.
Yeah, I'm not doing too badly, thank you. So, I mean, sort of tell us then, in terms of the here and now, how are businesses in and around Cannock, and what are they saying to you about how they're dealing with the coronavirus situation? And I guess, what is increasingly that sort of return to work focus?
Yeah, well, we're just getting to that point now, aren't we, Paul, where it's starting to return to work, and that process is starting. I think it's very difficult for businesses, as it is everywhere, of course, and it's no different in the Cannock Chase area than it is anywhere else in the country. The one thing we don't rely on that much in Cannock is the tourism industry, although we do it in actual Cannock Chase itself. There is, people come to that area. In terms of hotels and leisure, it's not so reliant. It's more manufacturing and service based. Retail, obviously, we've got the new retail park being planned to open, I think, in September.
Yeah.
It's all going ahead. It's all on time. In fact, they haven't stopped there. They haven't actually stopped working there. So they've obviously managed to maintain social distancing on the construction site, continue with construction. So the factory outlet is going to be still on target for opening in September.
Well, that's important, isn't it? I mean, that's we've long talked about that, and it's a absolute game changer for the region. If you look, around the country, and you think of places such as Bicester or Cheshire Oaks, around sort of Ellesmere Port, they were transformational for those areas, and the plans in Cannock are really, really exciting with this outlet village. So, as you say, it's great. I suppose that this is true in a number of areas, that construction's continued by and large during the coronavirus situation, and hopefully, come September time, more of the restrictions will have lifted, and the opening will be able to sort of proceed.
Yes, absolutely, it will proceed. And we're all looking forward to it in our area, of course. Obviously, it's very difficult for the town centre shops, because today is the day when they're starting to open those slightly, isn't it? Start back to return to work. I noticed on the news this morning that markets are starting to open, and that's a good thing. People are starting to get out, and I think we'll start to see some sort of return to normality. Excuse me. And we obviously look forward to that, don't we, all of us?
We're recording this on the 1st of June, so as you say, that's the where some of the non-essential retailers, they're called, have gone back to work, and then another 2 weeks really until what's expected and hoped to be much sort of wider lifting of restrictions on shops, so that can start to open. And I think the next date that we're hearing a lot about is the 4th of July, and when we're expecting some more around sort of hospitality to potentially be able to return. I mean, what are people saying about some of the sort of, I guess, ability to operate with social distancing rules, Martyn? Are there particular themes that you're picking up from conversations that you're having with businesses?
Not really. I think actually people have actually got into that, certainly from within the early days on the social lockdown of social distancing, when everyone's got a queue for getting into the shop, and we've all got into that state of mind, and I think it's just carrying on. I think people are just know what to do now. They just understand that you've got to do that, and it's just do it. And everywhere I go and everybody I speak to, nobody seems to have a problem with social distancing there. I think businesses with small places of work, they're going to struggle, because if they've got a small area, and they literally physically haven't got the space, then and they can't work from home, then that is going to be a problem, I can see. But I think most people now understand you've got to keep the social distancing, keep washing your hands, and just it's common sense, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think people are adapting, aren't it sort of feels like the new normal. And I mean, one of the conversations which I know is very live right now is, should the guidelines state that acceptable distance is 2 meters or actually 1 meter, which I know could make a massive difference to all sorts of businesses, just in terms of how you use your space. I think, we're picking up that at 2 meters, and this is just a sort of a rough number, but the businesses and even restaurants are saying probably cuts their capacity to about 20%. But actually, if that was reduced to 1 meter, then you'd get an exponential boost. So you'd probably be looking at north of 50%. Obviously, everyone needs to be and wants to be safe. That goes without saying. But I think certainly one of the points that we're hearing an awful lot over even just the last sort of week, and I know government, I think, have committed to look at that. So it may be that does look to shift. Certainly, as people become, I guess more sort of au fait again with getting back to work and travelling again, and just factoring this into our day-to-day lives. I mean, I was going to say as well, what was your take on the government, the furlough scheme and some of the announcements at the end of last week regarding, the tapering of that scheme now sort of across the summer until it finishes at the end of October?
Well, I think it's a great idea, to be honest. I think, I think there is a danger that people get used to being furloughed, and it's sort of, particularly with the nice weather, they might start thinking, that's the new norm. Well, of course it's not normal. We've got to get back to work, and it's allowing businesses to, bring people back steadily and yet still be supported. And I think that is a fantastic thing to do, rather than just having a cliff edge. If it just turned off and cliff edged, I think a lot of people will be losing their jobs.
Yeah.
Till the process goes through to October, and I think hopefully we'll be back to somewhere like normal in October.
Yeah, and that's I mean, none of us have a crystal ball, do we? And I think though, you look at the numbers. Obviously, we're working through the government's sort of ranking system in order to be able to keep unlocking, and it is heading in the right direction. I guess everyone is concerned about the threat of a second wave, but as we know that going forward, if there are localized outbreaks, then I think that they'll look to control and manage lockdowns into smaller areas. We're still waiting for a lot of detail on that, but important that I think everyone adheres to the guidelines as best as we can, and tries to minimise the risk of that second wave, so we can keep pressing ahead. And certainly, I know in and around sort of the Cannock Chase area, there was a real sense of optimism, wasn't there, at the start of the year? We'd seen obviously, the chamber growing and thriving, and then hopefully there's no reason why that sense of optimism won't return pretty quickly.
I agree, Paul. I think actually generally business people are optimistic, and our glass is always half full, not half empty, and we really do look forward to seeing things return back to normal. I personally, and along with us, can't wait till the pub's open and restaurants open. We can have a drink out in the sun. I've been keeping an eye on other countries and how they're handling the situation, and Spain was one of the worst places, and now the lockdown is significantly less now. The restrictions there, all the restaurants can be open up on the terraces. I think they can allow 50% capacity, but on the terraces.
Yeah,
we don't have the weather normally that's as good as that, but I'm sure that for people in restaurants and the pub business, that they've really suffered, and we could lose a lot of those restaurants and a lot of those pubs. We lost a lot of pubs previously, and I'm a great advocate of the pub. I think that a licensed premises is much safer than people being allowed to just go and buy from a supermarket, because it's overseeing the job. And of course, once these places go, they never generally come back, do they?
No.
So we've got to support local businesses, whether that be, or whatever that be, and certainly in terms of pubs, restaurants, and that type. So
really important. And I think that's certainly, that's what a chamber does anyway, isn't it? We encourage businesses to support each other and that network. And I think as we come through this, that sense of doing exactly what you said, supporting our own local businesses and supporting British businesses, I think is probably at the forefront of a lot of people's minds, maybe more than it had been. And same goes for manufacturing, isn't it? The idea that we need to bring a lot of manufacturing capability back to the UK, you know, and I think this has been an absolute lesson in why that's important. And Martyn, just to wrap up, I know you're a keen sports fan. Obviously, you know, we're very, you know, actively involved in motorsports back in the day as well. And I'm not sure I'd call you a football fan. I know you're a big Wolves fan anyway, aren't you? But sorry, couldn't resist. But you're looking forward to sort of the return of sport now, this month and onwards.
I think everybody who's a sports person who likes watching sport or being a participant in it wants to get back to it as soon as possible. I know we're going to get back to the Premier League but shortly. I'm not so sure about empty stadiums, but I suppose it's something better than nothing. But you know, there's all sorts of other sport that suffered through this, and as you know, I was involved with the motorcycle racing back in my day, and you know, one of the lads who worked for me, and he actually races at the British Superbike events. You know, he's been, you know, it's really affected them, and that, you know, you've only got a short period in your life when you're a sports person, like Paul. You know that the career is short, and to take a year or a season out of that can make a massive difference. Massive difference.